All right, this morning we are here to discuss the parole for convicted serial rapist Rudolph Martin Acosta. Present today is myself, District Attorney Lisa Smittcamp, Mayor Jerry Dyer, who is the former police chief, Mirna Garcia, a survivor of Mr. Acosta's atrocious crimes, Fresno City Councilwoman Annalisa Perea, and the Director of Central La Familia, Margarita Rocha. Those will be the speakers today. We are also lucky enough to have in our presence Fresno Police Chief Mindy Casto, retired Deputy Chief Pat Farmer, the Program Director Priscilla Meza from Rape Counseling Services, Executive Director of the Marjorie Mason Center, Nicole Linder, both organizations who work tirelessly in this community to prevent violence against women. We also have representatives from the offices of Senator Ana Caballero, Assemblywoman Esmeralda Soria, and Supervisor Luis Chavez. I would also like to take note that Mayor Dyer and retired Deputy Chief Pat Farmer were both a sergeant and a detective who worked this case back in the 1990s. So that should tell people how important these cases are to the law enforcement officials and the prosecutors that work these cases even decades later. We are here to oppose the potential parole of Mr. Acosta, who was sentenced to 78 years in prison after torturing women. He went on a months-long series of rapes and sexual assaults in 1991, and he is now eligible for parole because he was simply 25 years old and within the youthful offender range under California, youthful offender parole age range in the state of California. He is coincidentally also eligible under elder parole. These are two laws that have been passed in recent years that are part of the overwhelming support of the supermajority in Sacramento to empty our prisons. And while that seems like it might be a great idea to some people because of cost and other issues and other political issues, it is exactly the opposite of what is good for this community and for this state. It does not hold people accountable. It does not discourage people from engaging in criminal activity. It does not hold offenders accountable for their crimes. And most disgustingly, it re-victimizes the victims of these crimes. Between July and October of 1991, Acosta raped or sexually assaulted at least 6 women, ranging in age from the age of 16 to 30. All but one of these women was living alone. He attacked them in their own homes, often during the early morning hours between 3:30 and 6:15 a.m. He committed these crimes while he was a married man. He wore ski masks, he used a handgun, he tied them up, he raped them, he robbed them of their money and their valuables, and most offensively, he threatened to kill them if they told. These were not impulsive acts, they were planned, calculated, and sadistic. They left trauma on the community, they left trauma on the survivors, and every person who loves one of these innocent women who was victimized by this monster. Rudolph Acosta was not a confused teenager. He was an adult man who planned and preyed on women and children. He invaded their homes and he destroyed their sense of safety for their life. You know, last night I was sharing with Mirna that I was reviewing the probation report from 1991. It was 9:45. I was home alone, waiting for my son to come home with my German Shepherd in the backyard. And just reading the facts of these cases sent chills over my body. And I am an experienced prosecutor. Simply reading about what these women went through caused me to bring the dog in, call my son to tell him to come home because I was in fear. And I turned my burglar alarm on, as I do every night, because this is every woman's fear, is that a stranger will come into her home, violate her safety, violate her right to privacy, violate her body, and traumatize her for every day that she continues to live on this earth if she suffers a crime like this. And so you ask yourself, why should there be leniency? Why should there be a gift to somebody who commits these atrocious crimes at the age of 25, someone who plotted, someone who planned? Because the law is wrong. Youthful offender parole and elder parole are two things that the average citizen knows nothing about because they're passed in the dark up in Sacramento when no one's paying attention. And they're portrayed to be these great savings, the great savings effect that we have on our very expensive prison system. But they are a re-victimization of these innocent women who have suffered at the hands of men like Rudolph Martin Acosta. These current laws treat violent serial predators the same as non-violent youthful offenders. It's unacceptable. That's why we have a dedicated unit in the DA's office to specifically address parole hearings. Our prosecutors attend hundreds of parole hearings each year, standing up for victims and simply trying to keep these people in prison for the lawful sentences that they should be serving. We do everything in our power to oppose these unfair and unjust parole grants, both youthful offender and elder. But we can't do it alone. We have to have our community members speak up by submitting letters of opposition to the California Board of Parole hearings. Letters must be received for this case by May the 22nd in order to be considered for the June hearing. You can email bph.correspondenceunit@cdcr.ca.gov. We've made it easy by having a downloadable letter template, which is also available at the DA website of fresnoda.org. You can scan the QR code on the board in front of me, which is over here to my left, and submit letters opposing the parole of this monster. If you are a victim or a family member of this man who wishes to attend a hearing, please contact us. There is a number that you can contact at 877-256-6877. This is about justice. This is about safety. It's about standing up for survivors and not making criminals the victims. The victims are the victims. The victims have to work every day after this happens to them to become survivors, to learn how to trust again, to learn how to engage with other people again, to learn how to feel safe in their homes again. And the fact that this man could get out years ahead of his scheduled parole is atrocious, and we as a community have to stand up for these women, stand up for the community, stand up for public safety, and say to the governor and everyone in Sacramento who supports these laws, enough is enough. And with that, I would like to introduce the mayor of the city of Fresno, Jerry Dyer, our former police chief, and most importantly, a sergeant who worked this case on the streets in the 1990s to bring this man to justice. Mayor Dyer.
Thank you, Lisa, very, very much. And, you know, the truth is it's people like Rudolph Acosta that drew me into law enforcement. In the first place, to be able to protect women, children, and the elderly population. Folks that sometimes are vulnerable, and in this case, were very, very vulnerable. Rudolph Acosta was a violent and brazen rapist who generated a great deal of fear in our community in the early 90s. I remember it very, very well. Fear in the Tower District at that time was rampant due to the random nature of the crimes that were occurring, and the fact that it was happening in the middle of the night where he would break into homes where people felt safe in the sanctity of their homes, and the fact that he had armed himself with a handgun and in doing so and had threatened to kill victims. And no one felt safe as truly word of these types of crimes spread very quickly throughout the Tower District, and we know how close the Tower District is as a network, and so there was an incredible amount of fear that occurred. And as the DA said, during that time, I was supervising the patrol tactical team along with former Deputy Chief Farmer. And it was at that time that we were going after some of the most violent criminals in Fresno. And I will say that none were more violent than Rudy Acosta. We worked stakeouts every night right here in the Tower District, our team, 7 days a week. We did that for nearly 2 months. And I can tell you, when Rudolph Acosta was apprehended, there was a tremendous amount of relief felt by the people in the neighborhoods, and especially the folks who had been victimized by Rudolph Acosta. And I can say this firsthand, that Rudolph Acosta had absolutely no remorse for what he had done. And this is an individual that should never, ever see daylight outside of the prison walls. Having worked in law enforcement for more than 40 years, I've arrested and interviewed dozens of sexual deviants, violent sexual offenders. And there's only a couple of them that rose to the level of Rudolph Acosta. One of those was the individual named Sam Drake that we worked in Northwest Fresno. He also was breaking into homes in the middle of the night and was sexually assaulting young girls. And then another one was Pasadero Holt, who was preying on female joggers and was raping them. And one thing I do know, people like Rudy Acosta will never change. He is a violent sexual predator, and he has a seared conscience. And I am confident that should Costa be released from prison, it's not a question of will Acosta rape again. The question is when, and who will be the next rape victim. And I want to strongly encourage the Board of Parole hearings to do the right thing and keep Costa behind bar where he belongs, so that he will never rape another woman again. And so with that, I want to thank all of you for being here and raising the awareness, and thank the District Attorney and Councilmember Perea. But most of all, I want to thank Mirna for being here, and for her boldness and stepping up to the podium later on to be able to speak. And so this time I'd like to introduce Margarita Rocha, who represents Central La Familia. Margarita.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Margarita Rocha, and I'm the Executive Director of Central La Familia Advocacy Services, an organization that works with survivors to provide them the support that they need. I think it's very important to understand that once a person has been victimized and they're on the road to recovery, to be a survivor, to become a survivor like Mirna has, they need continued support. We need to be able to work with them to find them shelter, to accompany them to court, provide the other support that they may have, counseling if they need, shelter, and those types of things, because their recovery road is a long one. And I know I've had an opportunity to meet and talk with Mirna long after this happened to her and others, and she is still at times in crisis because it doesn't go away. So it's very important to know that it's not just about the reporting and get somebody prosecuted, this is the case right now. It is also about the recovery, the road for the victims, how long it takes them if they ever recover, because they have their moments. And talking with Mindy and other clients that we have, other victims that we work with, and they have good times and they have bad times. And we need to be there when they need that help. Mirna has said to me that she wished she had known about other organizations that could have helped her, because she had to be the interpreter with law enforcement and her parents, because her parents did not speak English. So that in itself is always going to be something that's going to stay with her. So I am here to tell the public that there are organizations like ours that you need to reach out if something like this has happened to you or you know that someone has been victimized, this is services. Law enforcement will respond whether you are a U.S. citizen or a non-citizen. They are here to protect us, and I want to stress that that is a crucial, important thing that we need to be here for. There are other organizations that also provide the support, so please reach out when you need. So now I would like to introduce Councilmember Annalisa Perea.
Thank you, Margarita. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I do want to start by just thanking the victims that are behind me today. Thank you for your bravery and your courage, and we do stand in solidarity with you today. I also want to thank Senator Ana Caballero and Assemblymember Esmeralda Soria for partnering with me on this effort to make sure that Mr. Acosta stays behind bars. We are here to send one clear message today, one unified message to the California Board of Parole hearings. Do not release Rudolph Martin Acosta, also known as the Tower District rapist. In 1991, our Tower District community was rocked by a wave of violent, calculated attacks. At least 9 women, ranging in age from just 16 to 30, were targeted, sexually assaulted at gunpoint, and left with lifelong trauma. These were not isolated incidents. These were the actions of a serial predator who were inflicted terror on our neighborhoods and shattered lives. Now we are being asked to consider parole under a youthful offender law simply because Acosta was 25 at the time of these crimes. Let's be clear. 25 is not a child. 25 is not impulsive youth. At 25, we know right from wrong. And Acosta knew exactly what he was doing over and over again. Granting parole in this case would not only undermine the gravity of these crimes, it would re-traumatize the victims and send a dangerous message that the safety of our communities can be compromised by technicalities, and that is not justice. As a council member, and more importantly, as a woman who walks these streets just about every single day, I urge the public to act. We all have a voice in this process, and I encourage everyone, especially those in the Tower District, to write to the Board of Parole hearings and to urge them to deny his release. We owe that much to the women whose voices were silenced for too long. We owe it to our daughters, our sisters, our nieces, our neighbors, and every survivor who deserves to know that their city will always stand with them. Please help us and join us in this effort. Next, I would like to invite Mirna Garcia, one of the many survivors. While we know this is extremely difficult, Mirna, and to all the survivors that are listening and watching, we see you, we hear you, we are behind you, and you are not alone. Thank you, Mirna, for being here.
Thank you. My name is Mirna, and I am one of the survivors of. Sorry. This is a little overwhelming. I was 16 and now I'm 50, and I feel like I'm reliving it every single time he asked for parole. This is his 3rd time asking for parole that I'm aware of. I didn't know he had asked previously and bypassed it, but in 2019 was the very first time that I went to a parole hearing, and I did not understand all the complexities of how the law works and the rights that he had. But I made sure that I was there to speak up and let him know that as long as I live and breathe, I will not stand down. I will not stop fighting to keep him where he is at. He hurt me, and my life is impacted. My loved ones are impacted, my friends, everyone that I know. I want the victims and survivors that are not here today to know that they are seen, they're heard, Their voices matter. And I will continue to stand here and speak until this bill that allows them to ask for parole every year comes to an end. This is madness. How in the world can there be a loop in our legal system that allows them to ask for parole year after year? The youthful offender bill is not helping. You want to release prisoners at the cost of hurting one more person? We all have loved ones. You all have a sister, a mother, a friend who could be standing right here feeling the impact that I feel, and I will never be able to live in peace. I'm serving a life sentence as well. I want you to understand it's important that we come together, that we send the letters to the parole board and let them know it's not acceptable. This is not okay. And we need to continue to support our law enforcement, our DA, our police officers, all the services, the nonprofit organizations that are here supporting victims. It is important that we continue to push on our government to do better. We have to stand together, be solid, be united. I implore you, please, get the word out, sign the petition, send the letters. I want to know that you guys are united and going to stand here with us. I'm tired of being silenced. Victims should not be silenced. We have a voice. We are hurting. I implore all of you, please do your part. Please get the word out. Help us. I'm just one of many. I need all of you because we have to stick together. We have to be united. We have to be a tribe, a force. So please, please help me. Please help everybody here. I have to say thank you to Lisa Smittcamp, Jerry Dyer, everybody, Karen, Casto, all of you, Annalisa, all of you. These people are amazing. They could have chosen to say, Mirna, you're crazy, you're on your own. But no, they've chosen to be here with me. And Esmeralda, I know she's not here. She's the first one that actually had to hear me out and say, hey, I need help. And she listened and took action. Our voices do matter.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we'll take a few questions if anyone has any. Do you have an hour? So the elder parole and youthful offender parole statutes have a very short list of things that the parole board hears and is allowed to consider. And that really, what Mirna's trying to say is the reason that we need this legislation changed. Because the victims, the impact of the victim, the egregiousness of the crime, the violence level of the crime are not factors. It's like a numbers game. If you are this age and you serve this many years, you're eligible, no matter what your sentence is. And it's different for determinate versus indeterminate crimes, and the numbers are different for youthful offender, obviously, and elder parole. And the impact that the victims go through and the egregiousness of the crime are not factors. So if the parole board checks off these boxes and they decide that this person should be eligible for parole, whether it's elder or youthful, it goes to the governor. So this really is a cry to the governor. This really is a light that has to be shined to say, Governor Newsom, do not approve this if it gets granted. So today we're here to start to rally that support. Yes, we would like the parole board to deny him, but if they don't, it goes to the governor. And this is where that movement starts. We are being proactive to try to be ready, to send a message that this community, these people, men, women, Democrats, Republicans, independents, law enforcement, lay people, NGOs, the community does not approve of this, because the governor and the senators and the assembly people, they work for us. They have to do what the people want, and it is time for people of all races, religions, socioeconomic backgrounds, political parties to say enough is enough with this overarching criminal justice reform. This does not protect victims of violent crime. You could have somebody who commits a crime that isn't as egregious as this, and they are still eligible under these laws. And so it's very difficult to, and I know that's a really long answer to your question, but the victim say-so has very little effect on the technical law. Does it sway the governor? Yes. In that final determination, I would say definitely yes. And so it's important that we start to rally now, because this hearing is in the beginning of June. Because what historically happens, Gabe, is that the first time out, the parole board might deny. The second time, and as Mirna said, this happens every year, right? And these things are not easy to keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, round and round. And so what happens is that sometimes people lose steam, or sometimes the inmate will learn just what it is that he didn't say correctly, and then the next time he says it correctly, and so then he might get a grant, and then people lose steam or people lose muster, and so then people get out. And that's sort of historically how it happens. There might be a denial the first time, but the second and third time, then oftentimes they get granted and no one's paying attention and they get out.
Is that a case why you guys are doing this? Because, like you said, the first time people might be up in arms, but the fifth or sixth time it kind of dwindles. And
Correct.
Kind of just to wake everybody up and say, hey, look, this guy did this in our community.
Correct. And here's the thing. I have a prosecutor right behind me, Karen Mitchell, who is a very seasoned prosecutor. She's done all kinds of crimes her entire career. This is her sole job, is to prevent people who should not be out. There are times when people apply for clemency and we don't oppose, because they're not violent people, right? And we understand that we have overcrowded jails and overcrowded prisons. We're really not unreasonable, despite what the sort of urban legend is of the last 10 years, that all law enforcement and all prosecutors want to lock everyone up forever. That's not the case. The case here is this man deserves to serve every single day of his lawful sentence. And that will put him eligible for parole in 2029. It will. He is almost done. But he doesn't deserve 1 day of credit, because you know what? These ladies don't get 1 day of credit. Why should he?
I am open to any law that will strengthen penalties for those who deserve it most, if it means protecting these ladies behind me and avoiding this from happening to anyone else in the future. I'm open to that, yep.
That would work really well for Fresno County and none of the other 57 counties where he could be placed. And so oftentimes what happens is the parolee is placed right back into the community to where they came, because they need family support, right? You have to understand, when people are incarcerated, they have no job skills, they have no resume, they really don't have anything, but maybe if they have some family members that are left. So no, we really do not have the ability to say, hey, we don't want him in Fresno, go make him somebody else's problem. And that's another reason why it's important for him to, you know, this sends a message to other people in the community to, and I don't care what anybody's junk science says, effective law enforcement and accountability in the law deters crime. And these lenient sentences and these early outs and these magical numbers that the Board of Parole and the Board of Prisons come up with now, automatic get out of jail free cards, because that's basically what they are. That sends a message to the criminal element that they can do whatever the hell they want. And there's no accountability in California. We literally have suspects that are arrested in all types of subject matter crime that tell the investigating officers they come to California because we have lenient laws. So it's time to stop this, and we have no control about where he comes.
What can the people do to help change these youthful offenders?
Write to your assembly people and your state senators, because that's where this started. You have to be aware of who you vote for. We have to start to insist that no matter what our party is, no matter what part of the state we come from, that public safety has to become a priority again. Because nothing thrives when the community is not safe. Not education, not healthcare, not immigration reform, nothing. Nothing thrives, not economy, not business, not entrepreneurship, not education. If people are not safe, they cannot thrive and they cannot function. So write to your senators, write to your assembly people, insist that they change these laws and they figure out how to keep the most violent offenders incarcerated. Any other questions? The hearing is June the 6th, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, June 6th.
Yes, the hearing is June the 6th, but we have to have the letters in by May 22nd. So anyone who is implored to write a letter, please do so in pretty short order. And we will be doing a press release on the 6th to let you know the outcome. Any other questions? Okay, thank you all so much for coming today.